Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Epi Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Anisha Madzounian, operation focused creative production leader and general manager at MOFILM. Anisha, great seeing you. Welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, fantastic. Great seeing you. It's been a long time. Congratulations, baby girl. That's very exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, and congratulations coming back to work again. That feels exciting too. um, Great, Anisha. Well, let's start first with when you look back at your career. What was the first first moment where you realized you were wired to build systems and bring order to complexity, not just execute within it?
Yeah. I would actually probably say it was earlier on in my career at the LA Times. I was part of the media marketing team there and, was part of the team right when everything was just shifting to digital. There was definitely a big gap within their own operations there, and especially the sales process. While the sales team knew very well how to sell print, digital was just a completely new language for them. I stepped in and I built an email marketing system, really from scratch. Again, this is just such early stages of when things just certainly were not as sophisticated as they are today. But it had me working across sales and creative, and even honestly teaching myself how to do some basic coding as well. And I think that that really was that aha moment for me that I didn't just like to execute. I just suddenly became really obsessed with connecting the dots and like building infrastructure, and just helping operate that in a new way. And I think it was from there that I was able to start looking for a career that put me a little bit more squarely in a more creative role and in a creative world.
Nice. And now, Anisha, you sit at the intersection of creativity, operations, and growth at MoFilm. Was there a specific experience that taught you how to balance structure with creativity without killing the magic?
I think it wasn't necessarily a moment. Like, I think it was more so the proximity to creatives. We're fortunate at MoFilm that there are no silos. So you're just constantly working across different disciplines. And I think that just really forces you to understand what creativity actually needs to thrive. And so I learned quickly that structure shouldn't control creativity. It should actually just protect it. Best systems create clarity and momentum. So, like, creativity can focus on the idea and not so much the friction around.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I remember in the early days of MoFilm when I met Jeffrey, we talked a lot about the creative flow of MoFilm. And back then I was doing my crowdsourcing week. And so it was related around the crowdsource model. Is that still around that spirit, or it has shifted a lot?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly shifted. I think, like you said right now, like the spirit of it is still there, the essence of it is still there. But that works just so well when the just brands were just entering this digital space, and so it worked really well when there was less of the demand for volume. And I think now because there's such a high demand for that, and creating content is just so much more accessible. What we are pursuing now as part of our like services is less about putting a brief out into a wider network of creatives, and instead really handpicking and selecting the creatives that we're going to with this brief, and being really really hands on with the production process with them, bringing that creative leadership and point of view into the process, as opposed to allowing the creators to fully direct it. Like, they absolutely have a very integral role on the table. They're completely part of the creative process. Really, we view them, are the creators that we work with, as an extension of our own team, but it's a lot more collaborative in this sense.
Yeah. And now you work with global brands trying to connect with very specific audiences without asking directly. How do you personally sense when a brand truly understands its audience versus when it's just performing what it thinks that audience wants?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think you just kind of feel it in what they're willing to let go of. And I really do think that brands that truly understand their audiences are comfortable, in a sense, giving up a bit of control. Like, they're not trying to overscript the story, and they're open to being surprised. I think they're open to learning from the creatives and the community that they are working with, and really just like trusting the people that we're surrounding the work with.
Yeah. And now that leading a high level while also navigating major personal transition recently, being a mother, how has stepping into motherhood shifted the way you think about leadership and priorities and what actually matters at work?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very new to it all. For context, I have an almost 6-month-old and I'm only about like 3 weeks back into work, but I think you just become very adaptive and willing to learn. And I just really think that has forced me to get even more comfortable with building the plane while flying it. I just think as a parent and as a leader, things are just constantly evolving around you, and there's always something new that you have to tackle. There's always a new priority. There's always something unexpected that you just have to respond to. And I just don't think that there's that luxury of overthinking everything. So you just have to trust that the decision you're making in that moment is good enough and that you'll just keep learning and adjusting as things change. And because of that, I think I've become more decisive, more confident and just like more comfortable with that ambiguity because I definitely also feel too that you get a lot more clarity through motion and not necessarily through waiting. So it's less about being like constantly on and it's just more about being impactful where it matters the most.
Yeah, well said. And now you're managing teams, creators, and clients across different cultures and expectations. What is the hardest leadership decision you have had to make when aligning all these moving parts? And what did it teach you about people?
Yeah, that's a good question too. Honestly, I think it's just recognizing that seniority doesn't always equal the best perspective. Again, I really am proud of the role that MoFilm takes in bringing people to a table, and I just think that some of the most like important moments have been when maybe somebody that is more quote unquote junior around the table, or maybe it's a creator who's coming into the campaign from like that outside perspective has just said something that might be sometimes uncomfortable, but it's also right. And so choosing to back that, even when it might create tension, especially when it's something that you're having to challenge against a client. So I just think that it's kind of like taught me as a good leader, it's not about hierarchy. It's really just a matter of like creating space for the best idea to surface and just also having the courage to stand behind that too.
Yeah. And now, obviously, there's no one conversation that AI is not part of it. With AI now entering the creative process, there is both excitement but also fear. And there's no much of the authenticity with what is something you believe about an AI and storytelling that most people in the industry are still getting completely wrong.
Yeah. I really, really firmly believe that despite what people might think that AI is the creative, I disagree. I think it's actually it's a tool. It's just another tool in the tool shed. We use AI to really like remove barriers. We're not replacing storytellers with it. We've obviously seen that it can make productions faster, it can make it more flexible, it can make it more accessible, but the thinking still has to come from people. And I do really also believe too that like it's only as good as a person using it. So, anybody can write a prompt, but think about what that prompt looks like in the hands of a storyteller who's doing it with a lot more intent, as opposed to somebody who might not necessarily have the same kind of training or background that a filmmaker might have. So they're probably putting into the prompt things that are related to camera movement or performance or environment, like literally speaking that film language, and articulating how a moment might actually feel. And so I think that that's where the difference lies. Like it's not, when everybody has access to the same tools, the difference isn't the tech, it's actually the idea behind it.
Yeah. And what do you think truly separates the brands uh, that truly connects from the ones that get ignored? Like the shift. What do you believe that one shift that separates the brands?
Yeah, I think it's probably like I think the shift is from control to trust. I think the bad brands that will win are the ones that are they're going to stop trying to perfectly manufacture every message and instead just creating a space for real voices to shape the story with them. Because I just think like we're in such a world where content is absolutely everywhere. And, people aren't connecting with perfection. I think that they're connecting with perspective. And so the more that brands lean into that, I think the more that they're able to, just like have a bigger stance in a very competitive landscape.
I always like to ask this question to everyone as my guest in this podcast, and that is about the word bold. What does that mean to you personally, Anisha?
Ooh, I love that. Think just confidence. Just confidence in your perspective, confidence in your voice, confidence in your point of view, confidence in the people that you choose to surround yourself with, confidence in the work that you choose to do. I think just, taking that bold stance to be who you are and to embody the vision that you have for this world.
Yeah, great. Be who you are with that confidence, of course. This is great. Congratulations again, Anisha. It was great seeing you, and thank you for joining me this Bold Talk series. Until next time, be great and be bold always. Bye bye.
Thank you.